They told you the war was overseas, that the battlefield ended when the uniform came off. They lied. Right now, in quiet suburbs wrapped in comfort and code enforcement, a different kind of war is being waged, not with guns, but with control. Control of sound, control of purpose, control of what a man is allowed to do, even inside his own garage. What I'm about to tell you isn't just a neighborhood squabble. It's a microcosm of a deeper system, an invisible architecture of power, engineered to crush anything that doesn't comply. In Maple Ridge Estates, they called it an HOA. But you've seen this before, in school boards that silence dissent, in office politics that reward obedience, in algorithm-fed opinions that program your perception. They say order is necessary, but order without understanding is tyranny dressed as peace. And Patricia Simmons, she wasn't just a bitter neighbor with a clipboard. She was a gatekeeper of that tyranny. She believed power came from bylaws, that the sound of a man's tools reclaiming his purpose was nuisance. What she didn't know was what those tools built. Not lawn ornaments, not money-making gadgets, but freedom. You see, I wasn't just tinkering with parts. I was building resurrection machines, custom wheelchairs for veterans who had been forgotten by the very country they bled for. Every screw I turned was a middle finger to a system that discards its wounded. Every frame I welded was a declaration that usefulness doesn't end when the bombs stop falling. But to her, I was a threat. Not because of noise, because of meaning. And meaning terrifies systems built on appearances. This story isn't about a workshop, it's about what happens when meaning threatens power. And if you're a man watching this, who's ever felt that invisible hand on your shoulder, telling you to sit down, shut up, and follow the script, then listen closely, because this is your war too, and in the next few minutes, you're going to see exactly how deep the manipulation goes. We start with one man, one garage, and one HOA president who thought she was invincible. She wasn't ready for what was coming, but neither are you. She knocked like a cop, not with concern, not with curiosity, but with authority. Pink velour tracksuit, clipboard gripped like a judge's gavel, eyes that scanned everything, not to understand, but to measure it against a rulebook no one ever voted for. Patricia Simmons wasn't born cruel. She was manufactured, like 1,000 others, shaped by a system that rewards control, punishes curiosity, and calls obedience civility. She didn't ask what I did. She didn't want to know, because knowledge would force her to feel. And feelings disrupt the machine. She told me my garage was a nuisance, that the quiet buzz of my CNC machine violated the character of the neighborhood. But what she really meant was, you're not following the script. I tried to explain. I told her about Danny, my brother, about Afghanistan, about how his government-issued chair didn't fit his body or his life, how the first frame I built let him sit tall again, move again, be a man again. She didn't flinch, because men like Danny, they don't exist in her version of suburbia. Real sacrifice doesn't fit on Pinterest. She cited bylaws. Section 4, paragraph B, subclause 9, no home businesses, no mechanical disturbances, no signs of life. I told her I didn't charge a dime, that every chair was free, built from donated parts, paid for with my retirement. Her lips curled. That's irrelevant, she said. It's still activity that disrupts the aesthetic. Aesthetic. That word. It's how the machine keeps you weak. It praises sterile order and punishes anything raw, real, or redemptive. It teaches men to mow their lawns into submission, while their souls rot beneath the surface. This wasn't about noise. It was about meaning. And meaning is dangerous to systems designed to extract, not empower. Patricia didn't come to understand what I was doing. She came to eliminate it. But what she failed to realize is this. The machine may control the streets, but the garage is where the revolution begins. That's where broken men rebuild themselves, with oil-stained hands, humming motors, and stubborn purpose. And once that purpose ignites, no clipboard can shut it down. This isn't about me. This is about you. If you're still watching, you've already felt it. The pull, the sting, the lie you were taught about power. Comment, they fear the sound of meaning. Comment it twice. Because in this world of illusion, only symbols wake the sleeper. You think tyranny arrives with sirens and soldiers ? No dot. It comes with newsletters, petty fines, and smiling enforcers who call themselves neighbors. That's how they break you, not with violence, but with procedure. Rules wrapped in the illusion of safety. When Patricia filed her complaint, it wasn't just ink on paper. It was a signal, a message to every other man in that community. Stay in line, or we'll erase you. I didn't run a business. No profit. No marketing. Just purpose. But purpose isn't allowed without permission anymore. If your work isn't commodified, if it can't be taxed, if it doesn't feed the machine, it's labeled unauthorized. Out of compliance. Illegal. The HOA called an emergency meeting. No warning. No discussion. Just a date, a time, and a pre-written verdict. Their goal, not justice. Control through exhaustion. They want you tired. Too tired to fight back. Too weary to explain. Too confused to remember that freedom doesn't require their approval. But what they forgot is that some men remember. Some of us were trained for war. Some of us lost everything already and built ourselves back, bolt by bolt. So I prepared. I gathered permits. Noise readings. Letters from the county. Testimonials from warriors who'd been told their best days were behind them, until a garage and a man with scars of his own gave them back the means to live again. Still, Patricia had allies. People like Richard and Janet, not evil, just asleep. They nodded at her like bobbleheads, convinced that enforcing the rules was nobler than understanding the reason they existed. But here's what they didn't count on, that while they were sipping wine behind fences, I was making phone calls. Colonel James Mitchell. Retired, decorated. Built like a tank, and sharper than any judge in that county. He said one thing, let me handle it, and that's when the power started to sheet. The meeting room was beige, sterile, designed to make you feel small, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like a warning. Stay quiet, stay normal, stay out of the way. But that night, something ancient stirred in that space, something that doesn't bow to dress codes or nameplates. Honor. And it came rolling in on wheels. I walked in alone. But I wasn't alone for long. They came, slowly, silently, powerfully. Men with spinal braces, women with burns, old warriors with chests full of ribbons and knees full of shrapnel. And the chairs I built, they carried them in. One by one. Patricia's face collapsed like paper under rain. She tried to regain control, gavel banging, legal phrases tumbling from her lips like broken teeth. This is a closed session. This is a violation of HOA procedure, but truth doesn't need permission. It simply arrives. And that night, it came with force. The colonel stepped up first. No anger, no insults, just words that landed like hammers. This man gave our brothers back their lives, and you tried to take that from us, for the sake of silence. Then came the stories. Staff Sergeant Williams, paralyzed but standing in spirit, spoke of movement, not metaphor, but muscle. How he played basketball again with his son in a chair we forged together. Maria Santos, scarred, beautiful, defiant, told them how the controls I wired let her draw again. Her hands burned in combat, her gift buried under trauma. Until a garage, some gears, and a man she'd never met gave her her voice back. And Franklin Boyd, old, quiet, 2 prosthetic legs that clicked with every step, said just one thing. I was trapped in my apartment for 2 years. Now, I see the sunrise again. Then he turned to Patricia and asked, how do you sleep knowing you tried to kill that? Silence followed. A silence so thick you could feel it choking the excuses in her throat. And then the doors opened again. A man in a suit entered, State Representative Michael Davidson. He took the mic, looked directly at the board, and said, I saw what this man built, and I'm introducing a bill tomorrow to make sure no HOA ever does this again. The crowd erupted. Power shifted. But we weren't done. You want to hate Patricia. It would be easy. She wore the face of the enemy, smug, polished, drowning in fake authority. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Patricia was never the architect. She was just another prisoner, a foot soldier for a larger design. One engineered decades ago, not in garages, but in boardrooms. Not with wrenches, but with policy, programming, and pressure. You think HOA bylaws were about peace? No. They were the first wave of domestic psychological warfare, suburban warfare, built to sterilize your instincts, to turn men from builders into consumers, from protectors into passive observers. Why do you think the rules are so obsessed with appearance? Grass height, trash bins, garage activity. Because when they control the surface, they distract you from the depth. Control isn't about noise. It's about removing the possibility of meaning outside their sanctioned channels. Patricia wasn't born cruel. She was fed fear. Fear that if she didn't enforce order, she'd lose what little power she had left. She didn't rule with confidence. She ruled from desperation. And that's how the system wins. It takes the broken, the bitter, the bored, and gives them rules, gives them status, gives them titles, then sets them loose like little kings in kingdoms of mulch and mailboxes. She thought she was protecting the neighborhood. In reality, she was just another firewall, another layer of insulation between people and reality. What she tried to kill in my garage wasn't just craftsmanship, it was autonomy, service, purpose without profit. That is the real threat. Because if one man can reclaim meaning without permission, others might follow. And the whole illusion, this fake empire of comfort and compliance, starts to crumble. So understand this. Patricia was a symbol, but the real enemy is the architecture of control she was built to seat. And if you're still watching, you're beginning to see it. They never wanted you to build. They never wanted you to serve. They wanted you small, tame, predictable. But once your eyes open, there's no going back. Let me be clear. What happened after that meeting wasn't a victory. It was a spark. They tried to erase one man in one garage and accidentally revealed an entire blueprint for freedom. The media spun their headlines. HOA, Karen taken down by disabled veterans. But they missed the real story. The system was never afraid of bad publicity. It survived wars, protests, and 1,000 scandals. What it truly fears is a man who no longer asks permission. Because when a man stops seeking approval from institutions, from panels, from pretend hierarchies, he becomes ungovernable. You see, power isn't granted, it's claimed. And the moment I chose purpose over compliance, I stepped out of their reach. The same applies to you. Right now, you're sitting in a world full of silent agreements. Agreements you never signed. You work a job that drains you. You hold your tongue to keep the peace. You hide your strength so no one feels intimidated. And slowly, your instincts rot beneath layers of conditioning. But here's the truth. You were not born to comply. You were built to create, protect, rebuild. Not for accolades, but because it's right. So build your garage. Start the project they said was too loud, too risky, too strange. Help someone who can't repay you. Resurrect the part of you that was buried beneath comfort. And when they knock, when your Patricia shows up with her clipboard and her smile, don't flinch. You don't owe the machine silence. You don't owe them stillness. You only owe the truth. Let my story remind you. The world doesn't change through elections, hashtags, or HOA meetings. It changes when one man says, enough. Enough submission, enough waiting, enough pretending we're powerless. Comment below, I am the resistance. Say it twice. Out loud if you have to. Let the algorithm see it. Let the machine feel it. Because they are watching, and they are afraid. Not of war, not of violence, but of you. Awake, uncompromising, free. The garage is no longer a nuisance, it's a forge, and from it we rise. One man, one purpose, one unstoppable rebellion at a time. Now go. Build something they can't ignore.